quarterback, or at least former quarterback in the NFL. And we need to get to this ASAP. As much as everybody is anticipating the future of one Jalen Hurts, let's say in Philadelphia, Jordan Love in Green Bay, a lot of things happening outside of the NFL regarding former NFL quarterbacks. And one is right there at the top. And I'll just let you know by one sentence where we'll start. Jay Cutler is out. And the reason why, we spent a week, actually, this was a recurring segment when I was doing the overnights regarding Jay Cutler and that reality TV show, right down to us, basically us, meaning whoever was on the show with me, pushing that Cutler would be as good, if not better, than any of the current color guys outside of like maybe Romo, just because of that Cutler-esque attitude that he has. So Jay Cutler is out. Jameis Winston could be in. And the biggest story outside of whether your team blew it or just hit the finish line in the stride in the NFL draft and what's going to happen tonight, 2 hours from now, with The Last Dance, we have the NBA. And it's going to be gigantic. As soon as all the dust settles, where all your local media people on Monday are going to get their first crack at the NFL draft. Oh, this is what they did right. This is what they did wrong. All of that's going to happen. But most importantly, the NBA is going to be that first big. NBA is going to return before baseball. The NBA is going to return before hockey. The NBA is going to return before everything. Golf is the only sport, as we know, that's scheduled to return before the NBA. That's it. But watch. There are things moving. There are things happening right now in our country that would dictate a much earlier and manageable start for the NBA if you can just accept one thing. That's it. I just need you to accept one thing about the NBA. And you know what? It has nothing to do with no fans in the seats, because hopefully you've already accepted that reality. That thing ain't changing. As much as I'd love to tell, that thing ain't changing. At Shander Show, twitch.tv/Shander Show. John's in the house for the final two. Thanks to Jack for hour one. Yeah, the NBA's back, but Jay Cutler, maybe more importantly, the reign is over in the Cutler house.
Hi, I'm Jay Farner, CEO of Quicken.
I wish I had audio for this, man.
During the challenging times,
what happened?
I'll tell you.
Okay, yeah. I forgot you got the stream. You can't.
No. I can tell you normally, but I don't want to.
No, I got you. Okay. I'm excited.
Commitment to giving you the.
I didn't think you'd be talking about Jay Cutler.
No. Well,
Our
you never know, man.
Of every client, every time, no exceptions, no excuses, exists for times like right now. We understand that hardships may arise, and we're prepared to help. If you currently work with us and need assistance with your mortgage, contact us 24/7 at rocketmortgage.com. As we all think about ways to save money, let me remind you that mortgage rates are near historic lows. If you think right now is the right time to refinance your mortgage, our home loan experts are available to help you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week at rocketmortgage.com.
Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender.
I had to change everything, man.
ConsumerAccess.org.
This camera situation
novel
is
coronavirus
pissing
escalates in
me
the
off.
US. Public
You have a webcam, right?
Well,
who are experiencing
I had
signs or symptoms
I
of
have an
COVID-19,
actual like
such as
HD
coughing or
camera on a
fever, to seek
tripod and
medical
all,
guidance
but
remotely.
the problem
One are
is
feeling sick or are just feeling worried.
it's
There is a way to
like
get help without leaving
sometimes
home.
it doesn't
Ro,
register
the
on the
parent company
computer,
of Roma,
sometimes it
is offering
does.
free telehealth services.
So
for
it was
people
taking
seeking guidance
forever
and
to
information
register on the computer,
COVID-19.
and then when
The
I had
service
it all
is
set
available
up and
free
good
of
to
charge
go,
in
it
all
just
50
it
states
crapped
and
out. So I had to
Washington,
throw
D.C. Ro's
this
free online
webcam on.
assessment
It's not
will
terrible, but I don't like the angle
connect
on
you
it.
with a medical provider for a free consultation. The assessment is designed by doctors.
So I
and
have a
infectious
bunch of
disease
different ones
experts, and is
on
based
tripods and
guidelines
stuff I
from the
can set up
CDC
and all,
the
but
World
it's
Health Organization. Visit
Because you've been working out of that studio for a long time, right? At home.
yeah.
online
So
assessment or to just
I mean,
learn
even
more.
this
If
one
you're
isn't
worried that you
a
may be
terrible look
experiencing
right
symptoms,
now,
go to ro.co
but I liked how it was
to
a
start
little
your free
higher.
assessment
That's
today.
all. I just needed to be a little
high.
high.
It right now, you can definitely see like the more of the table than you want.
Right.
Thomas,
The thing on the tripod worked fine. It was just the damn thing wouldn't read.
Turns out
That's stupid.
So it's like half the time it would read, half the time it wouldn't read. I don't know how to fix that to where it's like
with Nugenics.
it's either reading or it's not.
Stronger, with a lot more energy and drive.
When it read, I mean, the one even in the first hour, the show
All you
on
have
the
to do
first
is send
hour
one-
before the power went out.
Frank's right.
That was
Just
the angle I
text
wanted.
MAIN to 321-321 to get a complimentary bottle of award-winning Nugenix, the #1 selling free testosterone booster. at
Wait, are we doing
GNC.
RJ
Its
this
unique
hour or
man
next
boosting
hour?
Formula.
Next, oh shoot, I'll read you the tweet.
Oh, no, that's cool. That's cool.
No,
I was making sure I didn't miss anything.
Who was joining us at the 12?
Braddock,
That was
right?
Braddock. Duh.
Yeah.
Okay. I set that shit up. Hang on, I'll fix it. Damn it.
Complimentary bottle. Text MAIN to 321-321. That's MAIN to 321-321.
This is SB
Yeah, I
Nation
don't know.
Radio,
I got to
at
fix this angle.
SBNationRadio.com.
presented by Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans, live from the O'Reilly Auto Parts Studios. Here's Eitan.
Mike's out.
Craziness as you see all the names coming in and out, undrafted free agents getting signed, people getting cut. Just see the latest DJ Fluker out in Seattle, the guard, but you're going to see a ton of movement as people are complaining, rightfully so, because it's really convoluted about the ridiculous undrafted free agency process. Now, we're going to talk about something that went on up in New England. We're going to get to that in the third hour. Something you probably missed about a big story in New England. It's definitely worthy of our attention. I mentioned Jameis Winston appears to be in. The NBA appears to be back. And Jay Cutler is out. And I should have just said it that way, right? In that 3-minute segment to open up the hour. You have to apply common sense when we're fighting this major pandemic. And we'll get to this a little deeper with numbers and kind of some studies where we are surrounding the NBA returning and really our society at least starting to return. You have to understand that outliers will happen. Anomalies will pop up every now and again in our loops, if you will. And you cannot look at those as anything more than that. Than one person doing one thing. It was isolated. No think pieces need to come from this story I'm about to hit you with. There's no study that needs to be paid for. And, you want to rip and you want to ridicule, but really we're at a point now where you shouldn't be making fun of anybody, even if they're trying. And in this case, this person actually had the proper piece of protective equipment on, and it just did not go well. So before people jump on Jersey, which is right here in the backyard of where I am, and pile on even more on that poor state, let me preemptively bring this story to you. And again, at Shander Shows, how you can follow along, twitch.tv/Shander Show. Excessive wearing of coronavirus mask contributed to driver crashing car. So before you think, and let me just stop you right here, this was not a matter of somebody having the mask on incorrectly, impairing their vision, thinking, well, I just need to drive from my house to the store. How bad can it be? And it's a 1.5-mile drive. You can't see anything. You crash into a pole. This woman was actually driving for several hours alone in her car, and she was wearing the mask, the N95 mask. Best mask on the market that you can at least get. The woman passed out. Her car hit a power pole due to her receiving insufficient oxygen intake, excessive dioxide intake. Do you understand? This was not somebody who had the mask on over their eyes and couldn't see or tried to see through it like a bandana. You're thinking, well, maybe they had the bandana, the Jesse James mask on a little too high and it stopped normally at the nose, but this one went up to the eyes. Let me just power through it again. No. This was not the case. This is one of the biggest lack of applications of common sense that you can probably find. You can, and here's another thing. If you're in your car inside, and that's all you've done, right, is gone from your car to an area. You don't need to be wearing your mask inside your car. And I don't need to be a doctor. Get 5 doctors on if you want to reinforce this, but you don't essentially, unless you've just come out from an area that you feel you don't have time for whatever reason to take your mask off. But theoretically, unless you plan on reusing that mask, you shouldn't even need to bring that mask back into your car if you're going directly from car to home. You should be able to spray and sanitize things down. And look, we're far enough into the pandemic where I'm actually surprised we haven't had a story like this. Police have stated that it is not necessary to wear an N95 mask if there are no other passengers in the car. There you have it. That's police saying that over and over again. Medical professionals are saying that. And, part of me, if we were not in a pandemic, I feel like we would definitely be having some fun with this story. But much like the same vein of last night, where I couldn't believe for the life of me how the NFL would double down on some of these crazy stories that were just not needed to fill in the blanks about these young men's lives heading into the NFL. This isn't as funny as I think it can be just because of where we are right now. Maybe more so it's a teaching moment. Hey, understand that if you have an N95 mask on, or really any way that's going to limit, in some cases, maybe prohibit you from getting oxygen, you're in a car, the windows are up. Yeah, you're going to have intake of dioxide as well. It's just going to be natural. It's why you don't have the car running in the garage. We know that from day one. It's what you're told as a young child when your family gets its first car. Never, ever. Or if you're about to get your license or hand over a car to you, your parents will say the same thing. This is, I think, something that I'm honestly surprised we haven't seen in droves at this point. Yet, here we go, where you don't need to excessive wearing of a mask. And it's going to be taken out of context. Oh, excessive wearing is personal. You see what wearing a mask can do? No. It's a very small, isolated incident in which this woman really should have known better. And now she does, and hopefully you do as well, because I know a lot of people consume this program driving around the country. You do not need, I promise you do not need one. You can check my YouTube page. You can check the Philly Voice column I do weekly, where we do a sit-down conversation with one of the top medical professionals I can find in the country, and it'll tell you the same damn thing. You don't, especially if there's nobody else in the car. Just little things that pop up. Now, this is not a negative nor sign of anything negative, big picture. In fact, you can flip it and look where we are right now with the NBA beginning to reopen facilities on Friday. Yesterday, we had this story kind of popping up on Friday. NFL draft clouded everything, and rightfully so. But it got pushed a little bit deeper and maybe even further since Friday. So, speaking anonymous, a person said NBA players will be allowed to return to team training facilities starting on Friday. This Friday. That's a couple of days. That's less than a week. We're going to have players in areas where it's okay returning to facilities to practice. They would be allowed to do so provided their local governments do not have a stay-at-home order in place. So all workouts are now voluntary. Workouts would be limited to individual sessions only. Group practices still not allowed yet. Teams are not permitted to organize in-person workouts at this time. This is all voluntary. This is all individual, and it's not team or group yet. But look at this on a micro scale. Look at this like it's a player coming back from injury. This is a significant step, right? We've all been injured, if you will. We've all been put on the sidelines, and it's no different for NBA players trying to get back to work. This is actually a significant step forward to where facilities, training facilities in areas where it's already okay, and I imagine that here in Philadelphia, it ain't going to be okay because we're all staying home. Camden, New Jersey is where their training facility is. Jersey's worse off than Philly, and still I think it's all really in the same area, so I can't see this happening anytime in the next week. But still, as governments allow and as lifts happen where you can move to progressively safer areas in your lockdown, then you're going to see this open up as well. But the biggest thing, and again, you look at it like an injury, the biggest thing is how do you get Sixers players, Knicks players, Jazz players, whoever, how do you get them from individual to group? That's the next thing we need. And as soon as you see that, I guarantee you somebody in the NBA is going to come out. It may not even be Adam Silver. Hell, it might just be somebody speaking anonymously like we've seen. But that's going to be the time. Once you see this return to group activity, and let's be fair, in areas right now where you can individually practice, in areas where your training facility is allowing you to individually do it because your local government does not have a stay-at-home order in place, you really aren't that far from group activity. You're not. Getting 10 guys who have been tested walking into the building, and I know that says a lot right there, but that's doable. That's not impossible now for NBA teams knowing that their local government is allowing them to open up the door. That's not difficult for the NBA. Maybe your local business, yes. Okay, maybe your local small business that employs 18 people, yes, that might be difficult to get a test and test people every day. But if you're at this point in the NBA where your government says it's okay, local, of course, says it's okay, then you have the means to be able to test people when they come in, say, all right, everybody's good, nobody has a fever, etc. Let's go bang some bodies. Let's go up and down and let's scrimmage. You get 12 people in a room, that's doable. In some areas right now in the country, that's actually acceptable. Some places where we're all living coast to coast, wherever you find yourself, small town or large city, I know in New York, Miami, California, LA, I know some places it seems, Philadelphia, it seems ridiculous, right? But no, it's actually not only is it feasible, but it's allowed. And at that point, I don't think that you're really far away at all from returning to some sense of team scrimmages and even going up against another team. That's the biggest hurdle you'll have. Not individual stuff. We're there already. Friday begins that kickoff of individual activity. We're already there. It's not Friday. And it's not going to be that next step of, well, how many people can you group together? Can you get a team together? Can you get 15 guys together? Maybe 20 if you count trainers, coaches, etc. Can you get them tested and in the same room, gym, going up and down the floor in that same training facility, in that same area where your local government says it's okay? Yes, you can. And that is doable. And that is something that we should be waiting for in the next 25, 28 days. You know they have a plan as soon as things are good, which is why we continue to look at July, right? Right now, we're close to, I should say June, not July. I keep thinking we're in May. My goodness. All right, so May 1st, we'll look at this week as a wash. First week of May is when the NBA is allowing individual voluntary workouts at training facilities, specific ones where it's okay. That's on the board right now. That's going to happen. In a month, you're going to see the stage past getting guys together and scrimmaging. So at the end of May, you're going to be looking hard at how fast you can get two teams on the floor, either to scrimmage or simply play a playoff game. And that's the one thing that you still have to be okay with. I don't care if your team's done. Hey, you know what? Your team's cooked. They just missed the playoffs, or your team's cooked. They've been missing the playoffs since the start of the season, and that's the goal. Whatever it is, you're out. I'm sorry, you're done. We don't have time to go through and play 16, 17 meaningless basketball games. And it doesn't mean that just people or teams on the outside get screwed. You can make an argument that the Sixers would have a shot at improving their seed and not being a 6 squad going into it. Yes, even teams already in the playoffs are trying to improve, but it's all, in this particular case, it's meaningless. We need to fast forward and start this thing with a smaller group of teams, a more controlled environment, a more controlled scenario. And this is the first step. It's not good news. It's not great news. It's just, all right, keep going. You did your job. That's all. That's my reaction to this is we did our jobs. We continue to social distance. We continue to not flatten any curve there. We've done that. But we continue to mitigate spread to the point now where leagues feel comfortable, because that's a hell of a lawsuit right there. If somehow an individual workout turned into, well, individual workout to individual workout to individual workout to individual workout, days over, gyms closed, spray it all down, one of those guys gets COVID. That's not something that the NBA wants on their hands. And yes, Silver and company have thought that through. At Shander Show on Twitter, twitch.tv/Shander Show, 800-224-2004. You'll hear what happened with Jay Cutler coming up next. It's a travesty, but it might open up the door for something I've been wanting for years now. It's SB Nation Radio.
Was there sound of it?
Joe Theismann here on Pushing the Odds.
Nope.
How has quarantine left?
No sound.
Okay. Just make it.
Hold on one sec. I'm going to try to work this camera.
Patience with. I know it's everybody's sort of going stir crazy. I mean, let's face it. This is something we're not used to as a society. We move quite rapidly, but now we're forced to sort of reevaluate the important things in life. And I think it's good in that regard. Matt, I've said this for a long time. If you have your health, you have wealth. Wealth has nothing to do with what your bank account looks like. If you have your health, then you are a very wealthy person. Now it's important that we understand that you want to be able to keep social distancing so that everybody can stay healthy. And the more we can practice that, every day that we can practice that, every day we can buy a day for the scientists to be able to come up with a cure or a vaccine, it's a day closer to having this craziness end. And life will never be the same.
Pushing the Odds with Matt Peralt. Weekday afternoons from 1 to 4 Eastern on SB Nation Radio. Pharrell.
Coast to coast. It's Pharrell, coast to coast, every day, 4 to 6. I talk to the biggest names in sports. I talk to GMs, coaches, owners, players, and they're all doing the same thing. They're laughing, and they're breaking up, and they don't know whether they're coming or going when I'm done with them. I'm giving you what you want. Sports, down your throat, big time on SB Nation, baby.
Pharrell, Coast to Coast with Scott Pharrell. Weekdays from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. Eastern.
Wake up call.
You know what? I think Tiger King is probably going to be the thing.
That'll be.
How did you get through the great quarantine? Let me tell you the story. I'm a guy and his tigers, and another guy and his sex cult, and a woman that fed her husband to the lions. I mean, it's just going to be.
Do you think Oklahoma, in some way, some fashion, or maybe the country as a whole, we should have a Joe Exotic statue? A place, a beacon of hope, a beacon of light that we can all.
Did you hear that?
Once the quarantine.
I heard you say something.
Mass gathering.
What'd you say?
Years from now, we can sit there and say, guys, this man right here is what got us through 2020.
I think it's a great idea. That's a good idea. Joe Exotic statue. The great hero of the 2020 quarantine.
Wake Up Call with Tony D and Ron Culver. Weekday mornings. Introducing AutomotiveMap.com, a brand new